What's up guys, my name is Brian with Shadowmarq Industries, and today we're going to be taking a first look at the Ineos Grenadier kit from King Shocks. The kit includes a steering stabilizer and front and rear shocks. Before we begin, let's take a look at the OE shocks. Alright, so here we have a front and rear shock. This is off of our personal Grenadier, and what you'll notice is that this is obviously a monotube. This is an emulsion style shock that I'm gonna pull apart here because they don't have any rebound. So this is one thing that we noticed with the shocks, and you may not feel it in your Grenadier when you're driving. It may feel smooth just because the vehicle is heavy, but this is one reason why you need to upgrade your shocks, is because you're not getting any of that suspension performance. Look at this, I'm actually having to pull this apart. There we go. So this is fully extended. As you can see, when the shock goes down, there was a big gap in here. It was just basically, you can probably hear it if I put it up to the microphone. So you can see I have to pull it back as it comes through cycles, and I'll let it go and it doesn't even rebound. See that? So it's relying on the weight of the tire or the wheels to pull this back down. So when you're driving, you may notice on the stock suspension that the vehicle just feels really loose, and I guess I would say sloppy when you're making turns. So this is the reason why. This is another one. This is a workout. You can actually feel the slop in here. It's just I guess what you would expect from a factory shock, but very underwhelming. So look, it just stays put like that. So let's just put these away. Let's go ahead and open the boxes for the Kings. So the first thing we're going to review is the King Shocks OEM steering stabilizer replacement for the Ineos Grenadier. This is part number 20C001-207. This has a 9-inch stroke. And let's go ahead and pull it out of the box here. So you're gonna get instructions, a data sheet. It's packaged really well. And this is what it looks like right here. It's a direct replacement. Let's see if you can take a look here. And I have this on my Grenadier. It has helped tremendously with the way that the steering feels and the way it performs. The great thing about King Shocks is they're not throwaway shocks. We keep reiterating this. This is a buy once, cry once shock. It can be revalved, it's tunable, repairable. It's basically got like a lifetime life to it. So when you buy King Shocks, I mean, these are the best of the best. It is designed specifically for the Ineos Grenadier, and that's one thing that King Shocks does really well, is that they don't just make generic shocks for universal applications like a lot of big brands do. King is a big brand, obviously, but they're very boutiquey in the way that they specialize in vehicle applications. So this was R&D'd from the ground up specifically for the Grenadier. They tuned this steering stabilizer shock to be the best performing in their experience right here in this package. So this is the steering stabilizer from King, and I'll go ahead and put this one back and move over to the front shocks. This is the part number 25001-417A 23 plus Ineos Grenadier front with adjusters. So those adjusters are on the compression knob of the resis. All right, inside the box, you're gonna get 2 front shocks with remote reservoirs, all the hardware clamps used for the installation, obviously the instructions and the data sheet is packed inside. This is the pull-out, oh, there's hardware as well for the brackets. Those are tucked on the edges there, so don't throw your box away. Make sure you check everything. Here we have the shock with the resi, very well packaged. King does a nice job doing that, of course. These are high value items, so they don't want to mess them up. These are the shocks. They're gonna go ahead and be placed like this. If you can imagine, the brackets, the clamps are gonna sit up next to the coil. This is a remote reservoir, 2.5 performance kit. I'll go ahead and pull one of these shocks. This is a front. Extend this, and you can see that the King shocks are 1 inch longer, so they give that extra travel. These will accommodate stock height all the way up to the Eibach 2.5. Compression settings are the same, so you don't have to worry about the bump stops not being right where you're gonna bottom out. The shocks are set, but you get 1 additional inch of travel, which is great. So here is the comparison, and you can see that the Kings are longer. And they're just gonna perform so much better than these. So another look at the reservoirs. These are remote reservoirs, and these are the adjusters. You've got about 20 plus clicks that can go full lock, and the reverse way is, you know, soft, obviously. And what that really does is gives you the ability to adjust the ride how you want, depending on your preference, how you want it to feel, but also when you're off-roading, you can adjust it to perform better off-road versus performing better on-road. Personally, I like to have them clocked all the way, locked, because I like that firmness. So you're not gonna get necessarily like a stiffer ride. Some people might say like they don't want the ride to be rough. You're not gonna get that from King shocks. You're basically gonna firm up your ride. And I think that's a distinction between firmness and harshness. Firmness is gonna give you that feeling that you're more planted to the road. There's more control. You're not gonna get so much leaning, you know, when you're turning left or right, you know, swerving. So you're gonna gain all that stability and performance from a King shock versus the OE shocks. Another feature about the reservoirs is that they're short fin, and that helps for the cooling because you want the oil to be cool within the shock. If it starts to overheat, as it does in, let's just say, the OE shocks or, you know, other brands that might not have this feature, then the shock is just not going to perform the way that it was designed or meant to be, or that you want it to be. So keeping the oil cool is really important to make sure that the shock is doing its job and not just getting worn out. All right, next up we've got the rear shocks. This is part number 25001-418A for the 23 plus Ineos Grenadier rear with adjusters. In the box, we're gonna get the instructions, that's on the side. You're gonna get some King stickers. And then you're gonna get 2 shocks. So here's one, and here's the other. Let's go ahead and open this one up. So this is a piggy hose style, whereas the other was a remote. And we call it piggy hose because it's attached to the shock here with this clamp already. The short fin reservoir again with the compression adjusters, and then obviously the clamp is already there. This is a direct bolt-on. Again, this is also gonna be 1 inch longer than the OE. Let's see if I can pull this one up too. So this is the rear, this is right rear. All right, fully extended. Let's compare. Let's take a closer look at what we've got here. This is the rear shock again. Compression adjusters. Okay, I mentioned earlier that King shocks are not throwaway shocks, but another great value that King offers is that they offer a free revalve once you get the shock. So for whatever reason, if the adjustments don't work for you, or you just have a particular need for your application, the way you pack your Grenadier, or maybe the way you tow, and you just want different valving out of the shock, you send these back to King and they will revalve it for free. So that's a plus with a great company like King Shocks. One of the questions I get asked most about the Kings, when it comes to the difference or the distinctions between an OE shock and the feel, especially when price is a factor, is what do you get out of these shocks? My answer is, basically, you're gonna get better performance. Obviously, when it comes to feel, you're gonna get a more stable ride. When you're taking those corners, whether it's a freeway on-ramp or just a street light, you're gonna feel planted. You're not gonna get that lean, that loose feel that you would get from the factory shocks. Also, when it comes to off-road, nothing really beats King, in my opinion. I mean, you just want to keep going faster and faster because these shocks do all the work for you. They're basically absorbing all the impact, all the washboards, all the jumps, you know, and granted, you may not be sending it, but these are going to take it. They're going to make your ride so much more comfortable on-road as well as off-road. Lastly, Kings are the gold standard. When you see this blue, or you know that somebody's riding with Kings, or you see it on a rig, you know that that is some serious business. That is a rig that the owner cares deeply about the performance and values high quality products like this right here. All right, there you have it. That is the review for the King Shocks application for the Ineos Grenadier. We talked about the steering stabilizer, the front shock, and this rear shock. And if you'd like to learn anything more that's technical detailed, feel free to leave a comment and I'll make sure I get back to you.